All right, thank you so much. Well, anyway, we will be discussing the staff data submission, where discuss the record types, the key data elements, and the sequence of submission. So there are two key components to staff data. All certificated staff are required to have both demographic and assignment records. First, we have staff demographics. This section includes the personal and professional background information of each staff member, which includes race, ethnicity, years of service, and highest degree level. Next, we have the staff assignments, which represent the actual work that staff members perform within the LEA. This may include credentialed teachers, administrators, and pupil service staff. For teachers, assignments generally fall into one of two categories. They may be assigned to a course, which represents a class that they are teaching, or to a non classroom based assignment, which refers to a support or administrative role not directly tied to a specific classroom. Then, of course, we have our administrative and pupil service staff, which also are reported with non classroom based job assignments for their roles at the district. Once a course data has been reported for a teacher, the student course section record links the students to the class in which they are enrolled. This information is essential for accurately tracking student participation and the educational services that they receive, particularly EL services. As you can see, Fall to Reporting centers on connecting staff and course data, bringing together teacher assignments, staff demographics, student course enrollment into one cohesive and comprehensive data source. So now let's discuss who are the reportable staff for CalPAS. Fall 2 includes only certificated staff active as of census day or sections that are occurring during census day. So with regards to staff, it's broken down into three main points. You only report certificated staff who have valid seeds. You do not report classified staff, and you do not report preschool teacher staff. So now, with regards to the certificated staff that needs to be reported, obviously you report certificated positions in school districts, COEs, charter schools, schools administered by the Department of Correction, Division of Juvenile Justice, or state special schools. You also report any university interns or district interns authorized by the CTC and employed in certificated positions. You can also report non-certificated teachers and administrators who obtain a certificate of clearance and were issued seeds. For substitute teachers, both long-term and short-term, you also report them if there are vacancies or if they are long-term substitute teachers. Itinerant teachers may be reported when they are teaching at multiple sites within the district. Itinerant teachers may or may not be in the master schedule at a site. So you may need to work with your SIS on how to establish these records in the SIS and extracted and uploaded to CalPADS. We also report pull-out pushing teachers, also known as resource teachers. These are generally teachers not in the master schedule again. And then, of course, you may also report individuals on provisional internship permits, short-term staff permits, or teacher/emergency permits. So, bottom line here is that you can only report a staff with a staff demographic and staff assignment if that teacher is certificated and has a credentials to be reported in CalPAS, if they have a credential for as an admin, people service staff, or teaching staff. All right, so for staff not employed by the LEA, you may report them if they have a seed or if they are credentialed to teach the classes. You may report staff or teachers that are in course sections that are taught by privately contracted teachers if the teacher has a seed. So report their staff demographic, staff assignments, and of course their course that they are assigned to. Then, of course, you also have courses taught by individuals who are employed by another LEA, such as the Regional Occupational Center. So, if you are able to gather all of their information, by all means report them to CalPADS. And then you may also report teachers who are employed and paid directly through another school or another district. So you can report them as long as they have a seed. And that also applies to support staff not under the direct administration of the reporting LEA. Bottom line here is that you can only report a staff with their staff demographic, staff assignments, only if they have a valid seed that has the credentials to be reported in classes or pupil service staff. So obviously, you just have to ensure that you have all the pertinent information that are required for the staff demographic and staff assignments. Right, so seeds for non-certificated teachers and admins. So if a district uses a local assignment option to place a non-certificated individual into a position that requires certification, that individual may apply for a certificate of clearance through the CTC. Once approved, the individual obviously will be issued a seed, and that's the time when you will be able to report the teachers as employed in your district based on that certificate of clearance. So essentially, all charter school teachers are required to obtain a certificate of clearance and must demonstrate their professional fitness as part of the credentialing process. If your staff members do not meet all of the standard requirements to get their regular certification, they can acquire a certificate of clearance from the CTC so that they can be issued a seed and be reported for this academic year. All right. In addition to the staff members' demographic information, the SDEM is used to submit employment information related to the staff members. So we have here employment status, which is required for all teachers. And then you also have staff service years, which must be updated yearly to reflect the added year of employment. And that also applies to the staff service years total, which basically reflects the total service years of them being a credentialed staff. So this will be used to identify if you have any inexperienced teachers teaching at your district. Then you have your staff highest degree. This just provides us detailed information on the highest level of expertise they have attained as a staff member. So for the staff service years, we would like to emphasize more on this because this will be used by ESA in determining if you have staff members who are inexperienced. So the staff demographics provides key data for this. For staff service years LEA, it's essentially the count of years that the staff member has worked at a specific LEA in a certificated position. So if the staff member is in their first year, you count it as 1 year. Now, for staff service years total, this is the cumulative count of years that a staff member has worked, including time worked at your LEA, other districts, other states. So therefore, this number should always be equal or greater than staff service years LEA. So again, for both fields, you count any partial year as 1 year. And this then points us to the reason why we're collecting the information. The staff service years is a part of a wider data collection to meet ESA requirements that identify equity gaps. So California developed definitions for ineffective and out-of-field teachers that built on LCFF Priority 1 by focusing on credentials and assignment status. And this is specifically whether teachers are teaching without a credential or teaching outside of their field of preparation, or inexperienced teachers with 2 or less years of teaching experience. So this last blurb here is why it's essential to be meticulous with updating the staff service years every year, because failure to do so would put a teacher in the inexperienced category. So it is important that you do your housekeeping. You have to update their years of service for the new academic year. All right, now let's talk about the SAS data collection. So this is your staff assignment data collection. LAs are responsible for submitting the appropriate staff assignment data to CalPAS. There are a few key data elements that make up this submission. First is the job classification. This refers to the specific occupation or role of each staff member that they are credentialed in. If a staff member is a teacher, admin, or pupil service, the job classification will identify that. It helps define what type of work each employee performs within the district. Next is the non-classroom based assignments. These are support service roles that take place outside of the classroom. For example, you have counselors, specialists, or other staff who provide essential services but don't directly teach students. Then we have School of Assignment. This is a unique identifier for the school where an educator is assigned. It ensures that staff data are correctly linked to the right school site. So just as your students are enrolled in the actual school, so you have your school of enrollment, staff are also reported through the school of assignment. So if you have itinerant teachers who may be assigned in multiple schools at your district, you have to report each of those staff assignments reflective of the school that they are assigned to. We also have the FTE percentage, which stands for full-time equivalency. This indicates how much time an employee spends in each job classification relative to a full-time position. So together, these data elements give CalPAS a clear picture of staffing across schools and also helping to ensure accurate reporting and compliance for Fall 2 certification. All right, the types of staff reported include teachers, admins, and pupil staff. These are basically the main categories. A staff member can be a teacher, admin, and pupil service staff, and this is identified based on the credentials that they were issued or they applied for the CTC. Now in CalPADS, these are further broken down into staff job classifications. So you have 12 for regular teacher, 26 for your charter school non-certificated teacher. These are your teachers who were issued seeds based on the certificate of clearance. And then you have your itinerant teacher, pull out, push in teacher. These are your teachers who are assigned in multiple sites and also multiple classes with no permanent set of students. And then you also have your admins that are broken down into two categories. You have your regular administrator. These are your staff members who have acquired a certificate for as an admin. And then you have your 25 non-certificated administrator. These are your admins who acquired a certificate of clearance and was issued a seed. And then you have your pupil service staff who is in a position requiring standard service credentials in health, development, and other direct services to pupils like counselors, guidance, and welfare personnel, and psychologists, to name a few. All right. By default, teaching assignments are defined by the courses associated with staff members' seed. If a staff member holds a teaching job classification of 12, 26, or 27, then a corresponding course must be reported using that individual seed. If a teacher is not assigned to a class, a non-classroom job assignment code must be reported in the staff assignment file to accurately reflect their roles. So this could be, even though you have a teacher, if they're not directly assigned to classes, they could be teachers in a special assignment. They could be teachers who are departmental chairs. So all of those non-classroom job codes can be assigned to a teacher. And for the list of those codes, you can refer to the CalPAS valid code combinations document that Nate showed you earlier in this training. All right, so for job classification, FTE percentage, this is essentially the full-time equivalency or the time spent by a staff member in the position that they're working in, right? So the FTE can be reflected or divvied up by job classification and by the school of assignment. And then the total FTE that a staff member can be reported should not exceed 200% and should not be less than 5%. So here are some scenarios of FTE reporting that are prevalent in CalPADS. So let's say if you have an admin who is an admin credentialed staff member, so you have a job classification of 10 and they're a full-time admin, so you report them as 100% FTE. Now, if you have a teacher who is either a 12, 26, 27, and that is their full-time job classification at one specific school, then you report them as 100% at that school. Now, a staff member can be a devoted teacher with a permanent class. So you report them with a 12, and then half the time they could be an itinerant teacher. They could also be a 27. So you can split your FTE based on the job classification. So 50% 12 as a teacher and 50% 27 for itinerant teacher. Now, sometimes you have staff members who are admin and teaching at the same time. So you can also divvy that up based on the job classification of admin and teacher. Now, sometimes you have teachers who are, itinerant teachers and assigned in multiple school sites. You can also divvy up the FTE based on that. So you have 40% at one school site, 40% at another school site, and 40% at the third site, if that's basically the time spent on each school site. How will this look here in your staff assignments? Basically, this would be three staff assignment records of 27, each assigned to the school of attendance identified. And then, of course, the FTE would be 40, 40, 40 each. And then all of the staff time is devoted to one of the teaching job classifications. So you have 12, 26, 27, and have non-classroom job assignments. So let's say you have a full-time teacher, right? You have 100% teacher, and then they also have a non-classroom job assignment like departmental chair. So if their time for that departmental chair may be an additional FTE, then the FTE might be, 100% for the teaching assignment and then 100% for the non-classroom. But since this is just one teaching credential, so if a teacher is a 12 and they are assigned to a class and assigned a non-classroom work, then you only report one staff assignment record in CalPAS at that school for that job classification, regardless if they have non-classroom assignments. So there is a possibility that this teacher might be 120% FTE as a 12 as a teacher. Let's now discuss how to report staff who are on leave. For employees on leave, the 6018 non-classroom based assignment code must be reported for that teacher, and the FTE percentage should reflect the staff member's active time prior to that staff being on leave. So let's say if you have a teacher who is on leave but they are the teacher of record, you report a staff assignment and add a 6018 non-classroom based assignment code. And then if that teacher was 100% FTE as a teacher prior to them going on leave, then the FTE would be 100%. Okay? The FTE percentage must be greater than 1, and it is recommended again to use the staff member's regular FTE. This requirement aligns with SASS 0118, which is the staff job classification FTE percentage less than 1 or employee on leave percentage greater than 0. So if you report the regular FTE percentage of that staff member, you would avoid triggering this error. And then, of course, staff reported as being on leave must also have a corresponding teaching assignment if they are the teacher of record. So if you have your teacher of record who are on leave, you should still assign their seed to the class that they are contractually obligated to be teaching. Right, how should we report teachers? So let's just now discuss how to report a teacher based on the common scenarios that we encounter during the Fall 2 submission. If a teacher is serving in a standard classroom role, they should be reported with job classification 12 along with the appropriate course, state course code, right? You assign your seat to that class. Now, if that teacher also performs non-classroom based duties, and additional non-classroom job assignment records should be submitted to reflect those responsibilities. Otherwise, just leave this blank. Then we also have a teacher of record who are on leave. So a teacher of record is a staff member permanently assigned to a class. If the teacher of record is on leave but remains employed and continues to be the designated teacher for that class, they must still be reported as a teacher of record for the course. So you assign their seed to the class that they were expected to teach on census day, even if they are not present on census day. In addition to that, as I've mentioned earlier, a non-classroom based assignment code 6018 must be reported with their regular FTE to indicate that the teacher is on leave while still maintaining their teacher of record status. So now let's discuss vacancies and substitute teachers, right? A substitute teacher is only reported when there is a true vacancy, meaning there are no permanent teacher of record on census day for that class. So there's a vacancy. That is the only time you report the substitute. So you assign the substitute seed to that class, and they will be technically the teacher of record on census day. You also have permanent employee substitutes who are not currently assigned to any course section. So sometimes you still have those day-to-day subs that are permanently employed. If they are not assigned to a class but they are permanently employed day-to-day subs, you may report them in CalPads. It could be a 12, a 26, or 27, and then report a non-classroom job assignment code of 6014, which is reflective of the day-to-day substitute teacher. Then we have pull-out push-in teachers such as band instructors, PE teachers, EL specialists, RSP, special education teachers, may be assigned to multiple classes or multiple sites. So this teacher should be assigned to the appropriate classes that they are expected to teach. However, submitting student rosters for those classes is optional depending on the program structure. It gives you the flexibility of reporting the teacher but not rostering those students. Then you have college teachers not employed by the LEA. If college instructors teach articulated coursework but are not employed by the LEA, and the LEA does not have access to their demographic or credential information, the course should be reported using teacher identifier 999, SEED 999s, right? This allows CalPAS to recognize a course even without staff level data. But I would caution you on the use of the SEED 999. So this should only be used in college designated courses as well as in CTE courses taught at the college level. Then you have teachers not employed by the LEA. So you have, teaching ROP, distant learning, third party. It is important that they have valid seeds if they are teaching a non-CTE course or non-college courses. If you just assign a generic seed 999 because those teachers don't have any valid seeds, then this would be an automatic misassignment. All right, special education teacher reporting is an area where we often receive many questions. So this section highlights the correct procedures for reporting special education teachers in CalPADS. So we have special day classes and self-contained instruction. So if a teacher assigned to a self-contained special day class serving students with disabilities is employed, the teacher must be reported with a state course code of self-contained 1000, and then the instructional strategy field in the course must be populated with a 700, which identifies the class as special education only class. The same rule applies to departmentalized courses. If a departmentalized course serve only students with disabilities, you obviously report the state course code, flag it with a instructional strategy code of 700, and assign the appropriate special education teacher to that class. Now for RSPs, special education support resource specialists, A frequent question involves RSP teachers who are team teaching with general education teachers, whether they are working in a self-contained course, 1000, or a general education class. The RSP teachers must be reported in a separate section. You can't just report both the mainstream teacher and the RSP teacher as team teaching to that specific class. Because when CalSAS conducts their validations later on and assessment, if that RSP teacher do not have the appropriate credentials to that state course code that they are team teaching, then you will get a misassignment. To report them, you assign a teacher to a appropriate RSP education state course code of 9231, meaning you have to create their own class and you use 9231, which is Special Education Support Resource Specialist. Now, you also have to identify the course as special ed only. So you identify their instructional strategy code with 700. Now, that teacher has to be reported with a 27, which is push in pull out. That way, you don't have to roster a student in this class that you are creating for the staff member. Because the goal is we just want to identify this teacher as providing RSP services to students, right? The combination of a job classification of 27 and then a state course code of 9 to 31 with the 700 should be assigned to an RSP teacher. So another important thing is for all of your courses, any class should only be reported with an instructional code of 700 if and only if that class is specific to special ed, meaning all students are special education students or students with disabilities. So it's important that you only flag a course as 700 if it is intended to cater to students with disabilities. All right. With that, I hand you back to Nate so he could discuss the requirements for course submission.